Hi, and welcome to week 10. This is the kiosk inventory grader 1 homework assignment. We are now into Access, and we are going to try and tackle this assignment in this lecture. It's not too long. One thing I will warn you about is do not do the download all files at one time. Go ahead and just bring up one thing at a time, and you can see that the instructions that we have this week, there's only 15. It's not bad. There is a little rigor to it, but it's truly not bad as long as you have the chance to read your instructions and read your chapter, and then work on the simulation. So I'm going to go ahead and download my student file, which is Access, and I'm not going to touch it because I want to go ahead and download the 2 Excel files, and let's see what happens here. I'm going to save this to my file for BUSA 120. Yes, I already have one. Or actually, I guess I don't. I had already gotten rid of it, and so now let me go ahead and download this one. And last one. Sure makes it easier when you've got your chapters ready to go and everything. So just a word of advice. Okay, now I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to minimize this because we'll need to save this to upload. And here is the file. So let me just briefly show you the instructions here. Let's make this one large page, and we'll make it a little bit bigger so we can all see. We are going to start Access. It doesn't say to save it. We're going to go ahead and do a save, and I'll walk you through that, and then we're going to enable. And if I save it, sometimes it does have you enable twice. Once you get into it, and then you enable, and you save as, and then you enable it, you have to enable again. And we're going to go slow on number 2 because I do want to explain a couple things to you about number 2. All right, so I'm going to enable, and then I'm going to do File, Save As, leave this as a default. This looks a little bit different than your other assignments when you look at, or not other assignments, the other programs. Word and Excel, including PowerPoint, will look the same when you get ready to do PowerPoint in a few weeks here. But the Backstage view for Access is different. So let me just point out a couple things. It's pretty much similar. Usually there's a drop-down box, and you can have your name here, and you do a save as, and there's a drop-down box to just save as what. Well, here is your save as what here. Of course, we want this one. This is the most newest. This is 2016. These are the older versions, and then we've got a template here. This is marked out right now. It's this is an object, so we're not going to worry about this. I'm going to go ahead and do a save as, and I am going to put this in my BUSA 120 folder. I'm going to get rid of the 2. This is the second time doing this, and now I've got to go back, and this is where it says enable again, so I'm just going to click that. Now, beginning in the second column of the inventory table and using the specified data types, we're going to create the following fields. These are just category names. I want you to be mindful that you need to first do this move in parentheses, then type the information. And I want you to be careful if you're going to do this, because all of these are short text until you get to price. And then quantity in stock is number. So this just means it's telling us to go ahead and open inventory, which is a double click, not a one click, it's a double click. And then we've got these column headings, and this is what we're going to be doing. So beginning in the second column, we are going to call this one item, but before we do that, we need to say it's short text, and then we're going to type item, and you're going to click enter. Don't tab across. Actually, it's an enter. Then it's short text, and now we're going to type category, enter, short text, campus, enter, short text again, and then storage location. Now we're going to do enter, and then we're going to pick currency, and we're going to do price, and then number, and quantity in stock. And please make sure that you've got all of the right and correct wording in here. We can go back, but it's a little bit harder. By the way, Subnet's kind of our Subnet. Access is kind of unforgiving when you're working in here. So just be mindful and proofread as you're going. Number 3 is change the data type of the ID field to short text. Rename the ID field to item ID and then save the table. So here's our ID field, and we are going to change this to short text. So we're going to go to Table Tools, Fields, and then in the formatting, we're going to do the drop down to short text. And then we're going to do a double click into the heading, and you're going to type item and then ID. And again, don't forget to proofread after you've done that. You can go ahead and click OK. Now we have some information that we're going to be putting in. These are kind of messed up, if you will, but this is one column right here. Sorry about that. So we've got item ID. So this is the first row that you're going to be typing in. It goes straight across. So these are your headers: item ID, item, category, campus, storage, location, price, quantity. And you're just going to type this information in going across. You will be using tab this time around to do this. And again, make sure that you've got no typos. You will lose a couple points. I did this, of course, first before doing it here in the video, and I did lose some points on one of the item names, I think it was. So make sure that you've got that down, and it should go relatively quickly. And then the last one, okay, and I am just going to quickly look just to make sure. After you've done that, and there is one little typo, after you've done that, and you've gotten through everything, now number 5 says append the records from the downloaded Excel file. And I want you to notice this word, append. And make sure that the file we're getting is inventory. This will give us 17 records. So I'm going to go in, and I am going to hit my enter key, and we are going to external data, Excel, and I'm going to go right to append first because that was the first word, append, and I don't want to forget to do that. Then I will go and look for the inventory file, and then I'm going to do that, and then just say OK. Then we've got some information. Oh, and before I forget, you should have closed up your inventory file. It's hard to do this if you don't close up your inventory file. Sorry about that. And we're not going to do any changes here. And we're just going to close that. And then we're going to open it back up. Again, my apologies. Let me repeat that. Before you can append or put any files and upload them, make sure that you exit out of the table and then go into your append. All right, hopefully that makes sense. I did get mine to work, and there are, by the way, 17 records now. So number 6 is asking us to switch the design view and then delete the campus field. So changing the design view, we're in fields, in table tools, and then we're going to go to view and we're going to go to design view, and we are going to delete campus field. So here's your campus field. Now there's a couple of ways to skin this cat. If you've already done the reading and you've looked at the simulation, you can do the right click and get a shortcut, or you can go up to delete here, which is what I'm going to do. Yes, this permanently deletes, and yes, go ahead and get rid of it. Next, it says for the category field, enter a description, and let's get right into description. This is optional, and you are going to type enter the category of the item and no period. Just enter the category of the item, and then you're going to change the field size to 25. Well, it's 255, so I'm just going to click behind that first 5, or the last 5 if you will, and just do a backspace, and that gives me my 25. Click enter to accept it. Next, you're going to go into the item ID field and change the field size to 10. And then don't forget to do enter, and then save your table. And yes, we want to go ahead and do a save. Now we are in number 7, switch to database or data sheet view and apply best fit to all of the fields in the table. Save the table and then close. So we're going to go back to data sheet view, and we're going to click the triangle here to get all of it. And then if you might remember after doing your reading in the simulation that we go in between, it doesn't matter which one, I'll just pick the first one, the columns, and wait for your pointer to change shapes like this, and then double click. And then it does it all at the same time. And that's to apply the best fit. And then we're going to go ahead and save this table, and then now we're going to close it. Number 8, let me give you a visual on these. Now we're going to import records from the downloaded Excel file storage, and this keyword here says import. Let me go back. This one right here said to append. And by the way, I'm worried now that I'm halfway done with my video. I want to make sure that you guys all understood that after you got done putting this in, you had to close your table. It may not work like mine did. So number 8, we're going to import this information. So let's bring that up. So we've closed it. We're going to go to external data, Excel, and I'm going to make sure that we're on import. This is defaulted, by the way, so we're here. And then this time we are doing inventory storage. And it says designate the first row contains headings and the category field as primary key. So first row contains headings, and then it says after the first row contains headings, also the category filled as the primary key. So let's go back. So I'm going to say next, and then we've got filled, category, leave it at short text, and next, and then we've got a primary key, and we want category. And then after that, we're going to open the inventory storage table in database view. The table has 5 records. And one thing that you will notice in question 8, it also says the database is a new table named inventory storage. So you need to make sure that it says inventory storage, and it's we're importing this table, so that should do it. And then just close it, and now we've got a new table in Access. I'm going to go ahead and double click it, and we should have 5, and we do have 5 records. Now we're going to switch to design view, and for the location detail field, you are going to change the size to 30. And let me just give you a visual on that. We are now on question 9. So we're going to change this to 30, and then we're going to enter a description of room and bin, alternate location of inventory, and then save the table. Don't know if you just caught that, but I just did a copy and paste. So should be fine. And then once you get that in there, we're going to then save the table. And we did make some changes. So now step 10 is switch to database view, apply best fit to all of the fields, save the table, and then close the table. So I am going to go ahead and switch to database view, and then in 10 it does say to, after you do that, you're going to go ahead and accept all, and we're going to do a best fit, and that just changed it all. And then we're going to save the table, and then we're going to close the table. 11 is based on our inventory table, which is inventory right here. We're going to do that one. We are going to use the query wizard to create a simple query. Now I'm going to take this piece by piece. So I'm going to double click, and then we are going to create, and we're going to create a query wizard. And now the rest of the instructions say a simple query. So you are going to pick simple query wizard. Next, you are going to add item, storage location, and quantity fields, and it has to be in that order. So we have item, storage location, and then quantity and stock. Next, it says to keep the default name of inventory query. Click Finish to display the query results, and then close the query. Nice and easy. So we're going to click Next. We're going to use all the defaults, keep the name, what's your title, inventory query, and then we're just going to click Finish, and now we have a query that we've created. And go ahead and close that. Alrighty, we've got just a couple of moves left, not too bad. Now, based on our inventory table, we are going to create a form for the table, and we'll come back to the rest of this. We're now in 12. So let's close this out, and we are going to, based on the inventory table, I guess we could have left that open, sorry about that. We are going to create a form. So we're in create, and here's forms. Just one click will do it. And then after you create a form from the table, save the form as inventory form. Now I'm going to go back because you know what? I'm actually going to do a copy and paste again. And to do a save, you need to do Control and S. That's a save as. And we want to call this inventory form. So just make sure that you do a Control S, and then you're going to click OK, and then display the form in Form View. And so we're going to click Form View, and then we are going to close the form. Super easy, not hard at all. And I'm going to close the table again. Okay, now based on that inventory table, we are now going to create a report tool our report out of that table. So I'm going to stop reading right there, and we're going to double click into inventory, and you're creating something. And so this time it's a report. So go ahead and double click that, and you're in. And so then once you were in, let's go back. It says delete the category and price fields from the report. So there's two, category and price fields. So we're going to delete category. Oops, hang on, sorry about that. So if you just click on there, and I am actually holding down my control key just to do that. And I'm just going to hit delete. Nice and simple. That's all I did. So again, you know, just using your control key to touch those and to hold them down and then to gather something else. Okay, now after you do that, you're going to save the report as inventory report. So we are going to do a Control S, and we're going to call it inventory report, and then OK. We're almost done now. We're actually at 14. We are going to sort the ID field in ascending order. Then you're going to set the width of the ID field to 0.075 inch. And I'm going to stop right there so that we can do these first two and then finish up the next three. So going back to our database to sort the ID field, you may remember that you need to go ahead and accept that, or just click on that, and then you will need to go home here, and we want ascending order. And now we've got these in alphabetical order. That's all that is. That's ascending order. And then the other way to have done that, that's why I did it before, I just didn't show you, just to bring up your short mini toolbar, that's a right click. And I can tell you that I've got it on there because it's highlighted, but that's the other way to do it. So either way gets you there. I do like to use my ribbon, so that's fine too. And then the next part of the question was, or instruction, step 14, was to set the ID width to 0.75 inch. So we can go to page setup for this, and then go in and set this column to 0.75. And I'm going to leave my inch sign in there, and then I'm going to say OK. Next, we are going to set the width of the storage field to 1.5. So storage field and column, and we are setting it to 1.5. And then the last thing we're going to do is delete the page number from the report. Page number, and I'm just going to just hit my delete key. Oops, sorry about that. And save the report and then close the report. So we want to save it, and now we're going to close that report. The last step says to close all database objects, close the database. So here's our object, and close the database. And then we are going to close access, and that's it. Then we're going to submit.